This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast Expert Series, where we go beyond introductions and dive into real practical expertise from trusted local professionals. This is episode 1, and today we're joined by one of Simcoe County's go-to pros when it comes to outdoor excellence, Luan Abdullah of Simcoe Lawns. In this episode, we're breaking down what it really takes to get and keep an incredible lawn all year round, from spring prep to winter resilience. You're about to get season by season tips to make your yard the best on the block. Let's get into it. Luan, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing?
Good, pal. So before we get into your expertise and practical tips for the 4 seasons of lawn care, let's talk about who you are, how long you've been in the business, why you started it, and really, from the audience's point of view, what is the outcome we can expect from working with you?
Well, I got into this business about 2016.
Okay.
I worked a job in landscaping before, always liked the outdoors, always liked the process. I love working on my own lawn. So I figured, why not do it for other people? Started out with just mowing, slowly got into the lawn care side of things. I saw some gaps in the industry I wanted to fill, and here we are, plugging away.
Beautiful. And so, man, 10 years. Sean and I spend, all day. It's either growing a business or learning about business. And it's not too hard to find the stats on these things. You can just go to ChatGPT real quick or books or whatever. The amount of businesses that make it to 10 years, like yourself, are like single-digit percentage points. And the amount of businesses that make it to their first decade successfully are like a fraction of that. So you are already amongst a very rare group. So kudos to you. And I'm always curious, as now I'm going on my 9th year in marketing, and I love it more each year, but that wasn't the case with previous businesses. Some I enjoyed less each year. So it's not always the case that the longer you go, the more you enjoy it. But after 10 years, how you feeling about it, man?
Pretty good. I always like to say my first half was what I like to call ignorant, what's the word I'm looking for? Ignorant optimism.
Yes.
This is going to be great. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to be successful, but I don't know the problems. Then I get into informed pessimism, where I know all the bad stuff, right? And then we start fixing ththings. That's kind of like year 7. We're starting to get things right. So
yeah, it's amazing. Hermosi, 4 phases of business.
That's right. Yeah.
And the amount of people we hire on the team that first stage where they're just so pumped and then they get punched in the face.
That's right.
And he calls it the valley of despair.
That's right. The valley of despair. Yeah.
Right. And that's when people quit. But, if a lot of business owners, one of the things that I really like that he talks about is he thinks courage is more valuable than intelligence. It's not the smartest people that get the furthest, people with most courage, which I like. If you're able to endure as a business owner, you probably have a skill set that's pretty rare. You can get through it. But let's give some really practical advice on the people that are going to be listening to this episode. How can they make an awesome lawn? Sean Preston, my co-host, a client of yours, loves his lawn, talks about it all the time. I just want to cut mine and check that box, but he takes great pride in his. So let's talk about it. Let's get right into the spring. So let's talk about it first. So what are the first few things someone should do in early spring to get their lawn going in the right direction?
If you're starting out and you've never done any kind of lawn care before, the first thing you want to do is test your soil. Because if the soil is not right, then you don't know what to add, you don't know what it's lacking, and you may just be putting products on your lawn that either aren't doing anything or you may be overdoing it. So if you've never had any lawn care before, we typically start with a soil test.
And so how do you do that?
Literally just take a sample of the soil, and we put it into our kit, and it tells us what it's deficient in and what it needs. Usually it's either nitrogen, potassium, or some sulfur.
It's amazing. Every organism there's so many similarities rather than differences. Like, that's a blood test for me.
Pretty much.
I make sure, right? Like, I make sure I get my hormone panel done. What are my minerals looking like? And then now we can, rather than just pouring on more vitamin D, because everybody just says vitamin D is great. You may not need it.
That's
more
right.
magnesium.
You may be overdoing it. Absolutely.
Right. So you treat your lawn the same way. Test it first and find out what it needs.
Yeah, because with lawn products, putting too much of something can cause damage, right? Things like
it, man.
nitrogen burns the lawn too much if it has too much of it in already. Sulfur will give you too much top growth on the lawn, so growing too fast when it shouldn't be. Lots of things. Like you said, you wouldn't do it with your body, right? So your lawn's the same way. It's a living organism.
It's so simple. Once it's said, it's like, yeah, duh. But
Right.
For the homeowner, how can they get outside of guys like yourself? Can this be bought at like Canadian Tire, or
You
do you
can
have?
buy a soil test kit on Amazon that will
Okay.
give you the basic stuff, like the basic products. Those 3 numbers you see on those bags of fertilizers, those are the numbers you need. And any basic soil test kit will give you those.
Amazing. Common weeds and pests that show up around berry and springtime. Like, what can people do? What are they? How do we address them in that early stage of the lawn season?
So basically, we call a weed anything in your lawn that you really don't want there.
Okay.
Anything that's outside of a grass species. So the weeds typically come and infest people's lawns when they're not healthy, because when the lawn's healthy, it's optimized for growing grass, and weeds will not grow where there's a lot of grass growing. The grass will drown the weeds out. So typically we see a lawn get invaded with weeds because they've never had any lawn care before. They weren't putting the right products on, or they just don't have enough grass even sometimes. And they spread. Weeds will grow outside of optimal grass growing temperatures. So even if your grass is dormant or there's a drought, the weeds can still grow. And that's why they can get out of control over top of your grass.
Persistent buggers, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Any pests to be leery of?
Pests, yeah, they typically will come in, again, same thing. Unhealthy lawns harbor pests, right? They crawl through, they eat the root systems. There's a few different kinds of pests. The main ones in berry that we see are grubs. And they basically are just a beetle larvae, and they will attack your roots of your grass right in the midsummer. They grow to adults and they eat the roots, and you won't even know it. You'll just see a patch of your grass go dead. And the way to test for these guys is if you tug up on the turf and it comes up very easily, that means the root system's gone. You got grubs in there. If the grass itself is disappearing, that means you have a pest that's actually eating the grass blade itself. So like the sod wedworm is a sucker. So it actually sucks the sap out of the grass, makes it go yellow and die, whereas the chinch bug actually eats the grass, takes bites out of it and eats it.
Okay, so we have grass eaters, we have grass suckers, and then we have root eaters.
Yeah.
And how do we address this?
Well, the best way to do it, again, we start with like kind of a whole approach of just having a healthy lawn will keep pests away from it, right?
Okay.
But the best way to control it after the fact with the pest is with an insecticide. And usually we apply that in the time of the year where they're the most active, which is usually midsummer, which is kind of confusing to people sometimes because they'll wake up in the spring, they'll have a lot of lawn damage from a grub, and we'll say, yeah, no, you want to treat that in June. And they're thinking, well, I want to solve the problem now, but the problem is actually in June. That's when you're going to kill them. That's when they're active. That's when they're eating the most. So you wait till midsummer, hottest time. That's when you do it.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about mowing. This is like the one thing that I do, and
everyone loves mowing.
Right? It's kind of peaceful. I put podcasts on, sometimes just out there, but it's very, very meditative. You just one line after another, dealing with weeds and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know how to answer them. By the end of the show, I'm going to know how to answer them a little bit better. But mowing in the spring, is there a right height for it? How do we do it?
So there is a right height for the spring. So assuming you've been cutting your lawn and you gave it the last fall cut and it's still a decent height, I always say spring. So the optimal height for any grass, the Kentucky bluegrass we have here in Ontario, is 3 to 3.5 inches. That's ideally what you want. You can go outside of that a little bit based on your preference, but ideally you want to always cut your grass to about 3 inches. But if your grass is overgrown, you never want to take more than 1/3 of the grass blade.
At one time.
It's the same thing as cutting a tree or a plant. It's too stressful on it. You'll harm the root system. So 1/3 at a time. So if you have overgrown grass, you will wreck your lawn if you just decide to cut it right down to the wire right away. You have to cut it a little bit at a time. It'll take you probably a few weeks to get it down to where you want it.
So I've definitely done the wrong thing.
You're cutting too much grass off if you are discharging your clippings back onto the lawn and they're very visible. If you can see them everywhere and you can't get rid of them, you've cut too much off.
Okay. So 3 to 3.5 inches. And what did you call the grass? here in Ontario?
Kentucky bluegrass.
Kentucky bluegrass. Very
Yeah.
cool. Look at this. Okay, so 3 to 3.5 inches. If it's overgrown for whatever reason, you went away for a few weeks, a month, and we had a ton of rain. You come back, you go a third at a time, basically.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about watering. Another thing that I don't do enough. So watering in the spring, especially for people who tend to over or underdo it. What's the advice?
The biggest thing people get wrong with the watering is not how much they're putting on, it's just the frequency. So let's talk about first a new lawn. If you've just resodded your lawn or it's new or you put a lot of seed down, you want frequent watering. If your lawn is established, you want infrequent watering, but you want to water deeply. So some people, they will water their lawn every night, right? For like a few minutes at a time. Most of that water just gets into the surface layer of the soil or sits on the grass blade and it evaporates. So what you want to do is water infrequently, but water deeply. That way, so your grass will actually, the roots will go deeper looking for water if it doesn't have any. If the water is always on the surface level, you will not get a strong root system for that grass. It'll go deeper and deeper looking for water. So if you water infrequently but deeper, the water will get down into the soil, and you want to do it at night or early in the morning or late in the evening when the heat's not on it, because the heat will take away all that moisture on top of the lawn. The heat will take it all away. You can see it evaporating during the day if you water your grass if it's hot enough.
Okay, so cooler times, morning, late evening, or at nighttime.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm thinking deep. How do I do that? Is there a timeline? Is there a way to test?
Yep, there is. So you want to give your lawn about no more than 25 millimeters of water per week. A good way to test that, it's a tuna can. Take a can of tuna, put it on your lawn, put the sprinklers on. When it's full, that's what the lawn needs.
So that's including rainwater.
That's including rainwater.
Okay, so
the mistake a lot of people make with their watering is they put the sprinkler system on autopilot.
Yeah.
Some sprinkler systems have like a little bit of AI built into them. They can go by the weather, and if it's going to rain, they won't turn on. But I've seen people watering their lawns like early in the morning and walking the dog, and I've seen it's been raining a bit, and someone's got their sprinklers on. Right? So that can affect the way the lawn takes water. I think about watering the lawn as almost like training the grass to look for more water and get stronger. You make the grass work, you make the roots work harder to find the water, they get stronger as a result.
Resiliency,
resiliency.
adversity, everything. Every organism needs it. The strongest trees have taken the biggest beating. I think the same is true for humans.
Yeah.
Okay, so you sink it down deep. So if I just leave a tuna can, like if I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I go like week by week, we had some good rainfall. I had that tuna can on there. It's not quite full. I put the sprinkler and just fill up the tuna can, even if that just takes a minute or two because we had good rainwater, or like however much left of the tuna can is what I need to water that week.
Yeah, and that's for the week. You can do it all in one day and then don't water your grass at all. I don't recommend that because you want to watch the weather, see when you're going to get rain, right?
Right.
Main thing is doing it at night because you don't want to lose the water you're putting down.
Right. So if I leave that tuna can throughout the whole week and we're having hot weather, I can expect some of that to evaporate to a degree. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Man, this is why I love this stuff. It's just great. Okay, let's talk about the summer. Now the heat's kicking in. One of the things that I know is, and you've already mentioned it a few times, heat is harsh on pretty much everything. So it can be tough on lawns. What's the biggest mistakes people are making when watering when it gets really hot out in the summer?
Watering, you don't see too many mistakes with watering in the summer. Most people are pretty good. It's kind of intuitive. It's getting hotter, add a little more water to the lawn. It's never a bad idea. But the biggest mistake I find people do is they don't adjust the height they're cutting the grass. So sometimes you get to midsummer, it's hotter out. Some people like the little matte carpet finish look on their lawn, which is great. You can cut the bluegrass down to 2.5 inches if it's the right time. What some people do is they cut it too short in the summer, and then there's no shade for the soil, and that soil gets really dried out from the sun. And plus, pair that with the stress of cutting the grass too short on the roots, and it's just not good. That's when you start getting bare spots. So when it's really hot in the midsummer, you actually want to leave your grass a little bit longer, maybe even 3.5 inches if you can. That provides some shade. It keeps some moisture into the soil. it'll help with your watering as well.
Man, it's like once you start asking these questions and getting their answers, they're just so practical and obvious. It's like, the grass is shade for soil. I never would have thought of that for a second because it's so small, and I don't see any with my eyes, the actual shade coming off.
Another thing too, talking about weeds with mowing in the summer. So what happens is the grass sometimes it'll be so hot, the grass might go a little dormant, right? Outside. So optimal growing temperatures for Kentucky bluegrass is usually between 13 to 15 degrees up to about 24 degrees. Outside of that, it starts to go dormant, works on root health, it doesn't grow. So what happens is you may cut the grass short, it gets really hot, it hasn't been growing. So you're like, I'm not going to mow the grass. It's good to go take a little bit off. It did grow a little bit, even though if you didn't notice. But what happens is the weeds grow outside of those optimal temperatures. So your grass is dormant, the weeds are growing. And then when you do get some water, these weeds are bigger now, they take all the water. And that's how they overgrow your lawn. So I always say, the lawn's not growing, you got to go there and maintain that. You have to maintain the height, right? You're not cutting the grass, but you're maintaining the height. That way you're not letting the weeds take hold.
Okay, so let's summarize those couple of points here. So watering in the summer, it doesn't seem like you can do it too much, especially if we have hot summer. Yeah. You said it was intuitive, like get the water out, essentially. Use the tuna can if you want, but you're going to water more because it's hotter.
Yeah.
And then keep the grass even a little bit longer to prevent the damage from the heat because of the shade, and to keep it healthier to overwhelm the weeds.
That's right.
So longer grass, essentially. Now, something we didn't talk about in spring or summer yet is, so without me taking out a measuring stick, is there just like, I want to make my life easy. So these practical tips to just be like, water when it's hot, morning or evening, check the soil, and then frequency for grass cutting. I've always done weekly because that's what I was taught, not by an expert. Is that a thing?
Weekly is like, we do all of our lawn cutting. It's on a weekly basis. Okay. There are certain instances where we will skip a cut, depending if there has been no growth. You might just do some trimming. I would never go more than 10 to 14 days without cutting the lawn.
Okay. Gets too long.
That's the most we would ever do. And even that, it's pretty rare. There's always some areas of your lawn that are going to need cutting. Like, there's also this misconception that every area of your lawn grows at the same rate. Your backyard has different sun exposures than your front lawn. The east side may have different sun exposures than the west side. More rain might fall on your lawn than your neighbor's lawn. So it's different. So keep an eye on the whole lawn. Sometimes there's some properties we go to where we're not going to cut the front today, but we're just going to cut the back because the back grows like crazy. Like my house, for example, I got a high water table in the back. The backyard grass grows like madness, but the front, not so much.
It's the same with my house. The front of my house where the driveway is elevated and the backyard is down. Whoa. And there's some shade there. So especially in some spots, like the grass grows like wild. But, again, this idea of I have to cut the lawn. So I cut the whole lawn.
Yeah. Now
it's like, maybe I only need to cut the back. Now that I have the why behind it, cut what's long. If the other is not growing, like the front yard gets blasted by the sun. Exactly. And it's the hardest part of my lawn. So maybe avoid and miss a few days there until it grows a little bit.
Yeah. This is a big one with mowing, since we're on mowing too, is most people don't do this, but switching directions with your mowing. So it's very easy to go out. I start here, I finish here, I go this way, I go that way. Right? Everyone does that.
Same thing every time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I cut my lawn. I do the diamond pattern in my front lawn. I cut diagonal one way and then diagonal the other way every time. So it gets kind of it gets bent down a different way. And then the look after is really nice. You got these like nice crisscross patterns on the lawn.
Yeah. And I do know that look. So let me ask you this then. Okay. So I'm starting my lawn. Let's say it's a perfect square and I'm going this way for that whole cut. Yep. Do you go diagonal and then you cut it again?
I cut it again. Yeah.
So you cut twice every time you cut
twice. My front lawn, I cut twice because I like that straight pattern look.
That's the only reason.
You don't have to do it, but I do it for mine. Yeah.
Okay. And it's not like you lower the blades. It's cutting the same height. You're really just putting those lines in.
Same height. You're really just making lines. At the second one, you're kind of just making lines with them more, but it also helps. You're bending the grass both ways too, right? Yeah.
Okay. So you are going to get healthier grass by putting a little extra adversity on it, strengthening it both ways.
Like I've gone to people's lawns who literally have indents from their mower wheels because they've been mowing their lawn the same way for 10 years. And literally there's little indents from the mower wheels that you can see from their lawn. And that's technically that's damage is what that is, right?
Great. We've been doing it wrong this whole time. But that's why we have these conversations. Okay, great. I love it. Okay, so we haven't talked about this yet. A couple of things here. What did I want to ask? In the summer, we're going a little bit longer with grass cutting. Let's talk about clippings on the lawn. How does this help instead of hurt? Do we do it? Do we bag it? I don't bag. It was recommended to me a long time ago. Again, I don't know the why behind it, but I see people bagging it still. What do we do?
So there is one particular time where we will bag clippings on a lawn. If your lawn is infested with weeds, and it's about the time when those weeds go to seed, which is when the dandelions start getting that kind of grayish color, they start to drop seeds. So the mother plant will drop seeds. If you mow your grass and discharge those back out onto the lawn, you will get more weeds later. Now, if you're doing a full lawn program that starts with like a pre-emergent that stops weed seeds from germinating, you don't have to worry about this so much. But that's the only
that would be with a professional though, typically.
Yeah, like if someone's not doing lawn care and they have a lawn riddled with weeds, the first cut in the spring, we will say we're going to throw a bagger on and we're going to get rid of these clippings, because healthy grass clippings is like a mild fertilizer for the lawn. It's good for it, but you don't want weed seeds. So if your lawn is 50% dandelions and milkweeds and all that, and you don't plan on doing any kind of heavy herbicide or pre-emergent weed control, I would bag those and get rid of them.
Okay, so outside of that, as long as we're maintaining decent length, because I remember reading about if it's too long and it bunches up too much, it actually, like, what does it do?
It blocks the sun, blocks water. Yeah, that's how you get the dead spots in your lawn. It's not good for it. I don't recommend bagging grass clippings. If you have to bag them, you're probably taking too much off the lawn.
Okay,
is what I say. And people say, like, sometimes we'll have someone sign up for weekly mowing, and they'll say, "Well, I like the grass bagged because I don't like the clippings on the lawn." Mm-hmm. And I'll always say, "Well, how often was a lawn being cut before?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, whenever it needed it."
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say that means when it probably was getting a little bit too long. And I always say, like, with the weekly cut, you are not going to see any grass clippings on the lawn. Like, literally, we look back and there's nothing there. You can't see them at all. If you're just taking the 1/3 off and your grass is being maintained at 3 inches, you're not going to have a problem with clippings. Other than on your hard surfaces, right? In your patio, the curbs where you may spray it out, but you're not going to have any issues with that.
Beautiful. Okay, fertilizer in the summer. When does it actually do more harm than good? Do we need it? Let's talk about fertilizer.
So fertilizer is basically, it's just nitrogen. You're adding nitrogen to the lawn. So it's the same. What you're doing when you put fertilizer down is you're mimicking a thunderstorm. So the rainwater from a thunderstorm where there's lightning, that's nitrogen.
What?
That nitrogen comes back up through the lawn, and that's why the lightning comes down and touches. Yeah, people don't know that.
I had no idea.
Just a static charge coming back.
Okay, so walk me through that again. So why is that beneficial?
So the nitrogen is what basically helps the root uptakes the nitrogen, and that's what helps photosynthesis, and that's what makes the grass grow. But you can do too much, right? So in the spring, we use a spring fertilizer. It's got a higher nitrogen content. It's kind of kickstarts the growth, right? In the summer, when it's really hot, you want to use a little bit more of a mild fertilizer because you can stress out the root system. It won't uptake all the nitrogen because it may go dormant when it's too hot, and that's how you get grass burning. Interesting thing about grass burning with nitrogen, dog urine. The reason why some dogs' urine will stain a lawn is because dog urine is very high in nitrogen, depending on the breed. So if you're fertilizing your lawn and your dog's out there going in the same spot, that's why you get that yellow patch there.
So it all comes down to nitrogen dosing, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. And you want to dose it at different times throughout the season.
So early on, you higher dose of nitrogen to kickstart it throughout the summer, especially because the heat and because it could be dormant, so it's really not soaking in much of the nitrogen at all. It can burn. We have a mild fertilizer, which just means lower nitrogen content.
Lower nitrogen, yep.
Okay, and that's easy to get. Canadian Tire, any of these places, Home Hardware, and you just look for it on the bag. It says lower nitrogen.
It's always the first number.
It's always
the first number of the 3 is always nitrogen.
So the lower it is, or the lower of the options, that's what you use for the summer.
Yeah. You'll see it'll say, like, they may call it a summer fertilizer or like a summer stress fertilizer, and usually it'll have a lower nitrogen content. One thing that has a lower nitrogen content is a product called Weed and Feed. Only has about 10% nitrogen in it. It actually helps combat weeds a little bit too.
Okay. So, and the fertilizer normally comes in like it's kind of granular material. It's never liquid.
It can be liquid. Some commercials applications do have a liquid form. Yeah, but nothing beats the granular. The granular is the best. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then do I put it on the whole lawn? Like you've mentioned a couple of times, this may need it, this may not. How do I do that?
So you want to put it evenly across the whole lawn. Now, if you have issues, so for example, I have dogs that go in the backyard. So I don't put as much in my backyard. I'll put a little bit less. Sometimes I'll even skip a fertilizing in the backyard if I think it won't do so well. It's kind of to your discretion. If we're looking after the lawn, we notice patterns and we'll make recommendations as we go based on that. Some people just say, my dog goes in the one area. I'm okay with that area just kind of being messed up from the dog, but I want the rest of the lawn to look as good as the front lawn. And we'll kind of modify it based on that.
Okay. And I don't even know the name of it, but you just get one of those little pushers. You got the fertilizer in it, and it just kind of.
So also a thing important with that is try to match the fertilizer spreader with the brand of fertilizer that you're buying, because it'll typically give you the recommendation on how to set that spreader. So if you're buying, Scott's fertilizer, buy a Scott spreader.
Okay.
Buy a Lesco spreader, because it'll tell you how to calibrate the spreader. There's a dial. It's just basically pounds per square foot or pounds per 100 meters square. But the bag will tell you how to set that spreader. Sometimes people will just buy a spreader and then buy a bag of fertilizer, and they're kind of to set it. They don't really know what they're setting it to or what the numbers mean. And most people don't know how to read the bag of fertilizer, or they don't read it. But they're all calibrated.
Okay.
All you got to do is set the dial, match it to the bag, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to hire you by the end of this. It's great information. I'm like, man, everything in life, it's like you find an expert at it. Yeah, it's like anything. You want to keep your house clean. You talk to a professional cleaner, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know 80% of this. Okay, this one seemed really important to me. Is the your lawn feeling hard, compacted? How can they tell if it needs to be aerated, and when's the right time to do it?
So basically, the lawn compaction, it's tough for roots to take hold. It's tough for grass to grow when the lawn's compacted like that. You can tell, basically, it just feels like concrete. There's no sponginess to it at all. You can really feel it if you ever walk barefoot on your lawn.
Yeah, that's
what if your lawn is solid and you walk barefoot on it, you can really tell. And what the aeration does, it just kind of breaks up that soil. It allows if your lawn's rock solid and you're applying fertilizer, you're trying to apply seed, that stuff's just sitting on top. It's not going to work its way in deep enough. So the fertilizer gets activated with water and it goes into the soil. But if the soil is too hard, it's not going to go very far. It may not even be getting to your roots.
Right.
So a good thing to do is an aeration, right? Aeration just plugs holes 3 to 4 inches down, pulls out a core. Those stay on the lawn, kind of acts as a natural fertilizer as well. And that way you can get seed down in the hole, fertilizer down in the hole, and it just makes the lawn softer. Best time to do it, honestly, is whenever you notice your lawn is hard, like cement. There's never a bad time to do an aeration. We always recommend, it's included in a lot of our programs in the spring or fall or both.
Okay, so I can't really hurt the lawn with aeration, but really can I get it preventatively? Can I aerate preventatively before? Like, is there any benefit to doing it before it gets hard and then avoids it getting hard?
100%. If you just aerate your lawn once a season, whether it's the spring or fall, you will definitely avoid that.
Okay.
I do for my lawn, I do both. Because it's nice for when the snow melts in the spring, the lawn's already got these holes in it. All the water gets down in there. Your first fertilizer, all the stuff gets down into the holes. It gets good soil contact. We always do, if we're going to seed a lawn, we always try to pair it up with an aeration. In fact, I won't do seeding on a lawn without aerating it, because 10% of that seed might take. 80% will get eaten by the birds. The other 10% will just do nothing. So
you aerate first, I'm assuming, before you
aerate first. That way you get some seed down into those holes. It gets good soil contact.
Okay. I love it, man. Late summer. weather starts to cool down, things starts to change a little bit. What should people be doing differently when it comes to mowing their lawn in the late summer?
So if you made a change to the height for the hot part, if we had a really hot part of like the midsummer, late summer, the temperatures might start to drop a bit. You can go back to your regular height of mowing. If you've been mowing at like 2.75, or even if your lawn takes the 2.5 really well, if you got a thick lawn, you can go back to that. One of the biggest mistakes I see people doing with that is they were watering the lawn a lot in the hot part of the season. Then they kind of back off on the watering. Like the lawn still needs water, right? So you should never back off the watering just because it got a little bit cooler. Some people do that and then it stresses the lawn. The main thing you see, a common theme here we have with all this is consistency.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the gym.
Yeah, think about your body. You don't you maybe want to have a little bit leaner in the summer and bulk up in the winter time, but generally you're dieting, you're working out, you're being consistent. You're just adjusting things slightly, but you're never just letting anything go, right? Some people will just be like, oh, a hot part of the summer is over, turning off the sprinkler systems, I'm going to save some water. You can do that, but your lawn's definitely going to feel it. And
there's no drastic changes. It's like you said, little tweaks here or there. Consistency is the major workhorse. And then you're just adjusting as it gets cooler, earlier in the season, hotter.
Yeah. Okay. You want to avoid being reactive, right? You want to be proactive instead of reactive, right? It's just like your health, just like your own health. The best way to approach health is to be proactive about it, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing's wrong with my body, but I'm going to go get a blood test once a year just to make sure nothing's going to be wrong with it. Same thing with your soil test, right? Keep watering the lawn. Even though it's cool out, the lawn still needs water, right? It still needs to be cut, still needs to be maintained.
And that, it's great information. And that soil test, do I just do that at the beginning of the year? Should I check in halfway through the year?
You can check in if you have a deficiency and you're looking to correct it, then you want to adjust. You want to check every 30 days, right? Your lawn cycle has about a 25 to 30 day cycle. That's why we do most lawn care programs. The applications are spread out anywhere between 20 and 30 days.
Okay. So I tested at the beginning of the year to set off the year, and now I'm picking seed and all that kind of stuff. Any other minerals, nutrients that I may be deficient in. But if things are going well, I don't really need to check in again. That couple times in a 30-day period is only if we're noticing a deficiency.
If you're noticing deficiency and there's like something you really need to correct and you want this optimal level, it's always good to check it again. The soil test kit will come with multiple uses too. Okay. It's not just a one-time thing. And then, but also if you're keeping an eye on your lawn, you're liking the way it looks and you notice no issues, it's okay to just do one once a year.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So we've talked about this a few times before, but I think it's important to talk about watering in the late summer when it starts cooling off. So why does your lawn still need water even when it's cooling off outside? How often do we water? What are your suggestions?
So the lawn still needs water because that's the main, thing it needs for growth, right?
Right.
So no matter what, you have to water the lawn. Keep it with the like I said before, you want it infrequently, but deep.
Deep.
Right?
Yeah.
When it's cooler, you're going to keep a lot of that water in the lawn. But if you're watering it every day, now you have the opposite problem. The water is not evaporating. It's just sitting on there. You might get some pooling, right? You don't want the grass to be sitting in water is basically what it is.
So that tuna can, again, as I go throughout the seasons, I use that tuna can anytime I want to check in. And depending on the season, depending on the temperature, in some cases, it'll evaporate faster because of the heat. In other cases, it will evaporate slower or not at all. But that's my test. And that determines to me how much I need to water per week.
Yeah. And the thing is, really, if you've been getting your lawn with 25 millimeters of water all summer, that consistency will do you just fine. Beautiful. It's typically when you haven't been watering enough and now you want to correct it. Now you're measuring, maybe you got to overcompensate a little bit. If you start out with these rules, you will never have to put more than 25 milliliters on your lawn, whether it's hot or cold.
Yeah. These first principles, right? Like it almost seems like everything in life. It's like, let's start the program right to avoid these things. And then you're just talking about maintenance.
Exactly. And the biggest thing is sticking with the plan, right? That's the biggest thing is sticking with the plan. Beautiful. Like some people tell me all the time, I don't mow the lawn anymore because it's all just weeds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you still got to cut those down, right? So.
Okay, so if someone has thin or bare patches in their yard, we're still talking late summer here. What's the right way to overseed and help it bounce back?
So the best way to do it is typically that damage is going to come from, over mowing, cutting the grass too short, letting those areas get too hard, not fixing them. It could be from one of the pests that have maybe been causing some damage. So if you're noticing, this is the good time to start looking at those things, see how you're going to repair them. Best way to do a patch in your lawn is, number one, find out what the problem was. If it's a grub, if it's a chinch bug or a sod webworm or something causing the damage, you want to fix that first, because anything you put down there is just going to get ruined again. Maybe it's a spot from the dog, right? So find out what it is first, what caused it. Hopefully you noticed it kind of happening slowly. And then the best way to fix it, once the problem is solved, the only thing you can really do is add some soil, add some seed. You could re-sod the area. That's a little bit more intensive. But either way, you want to address it. I often hear this phrase when I ask, well, what happened with this spot here, this problem area of your lawn? When did you notice it? And I always hear people say something like, well, I thought it might just come back on its own. That's common knowledge with like lawn problems. Oh, I thought it'll come back on its own, right? And I always say, why would it come back on its own?
Yeah.
Like you have to do something, right? Something's going on here. It won't just come back on its own. If the grass has been eaten, like new seed won't appear. Grass does flower and drop seed, but that's when you let it grow to 3 feet long, right?
Right. Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
it won't fix itself. You have to do something. There has to be an intervention put in place.
So like anything else, find the core issue. We have AI these days, so we can get answers very quickly.
Yep.
We have people like yourself, make a phone call, buy a program, but address the core issue or find the core issue and address it.
Yeah. And I tell people, honestly, people will call us with a small problem like that. And I will tell them, do you want me to tell you how you can do this? Yeah. I'll say this is something you can fix on your own. And then let us know if you need help after, if it's not working for you. But try this first. It could just be a simple fix, right? And most people are pretty surprised when they hear that.
I hope some business owners heard that, because that's the way we run our business. And that's the way I'd love for all business to be run. And ultimately, some business owners are going to hear that and be like, no, I'll come over there. We'll give you a quote. And there's no trust built in that approach.
No.
In your approach, it's like, he's the guy.
Yeah.
He's willing to help, and it's not about every buck. So I'm really happy you do that. Fertilizing. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but let's get into detail. Late summer. Do we do it? How do we do it? What's the program?
We do it, but again, you want to have a lower nitrogen content so you don't harm the lawn, and a slow release nitrogen.
Okay.
Yeah, slow release nitrogen. It'll release nitrogen slowly over that cycle of your lawn, so 3 to 4 weeks. That way you're not hammering the lawn with all that nitrogen right away, right?
So
fertilizer.
Okay, so slow release, lower nitrogen. In the summer, it was lower nitrogen content because it was very hot and could go dormant. In the late summer, we still got some heat for sure. Is that the idea behind it, or why?
Yeah, you're kind of looking at like a mid-range fertilizer. The main thing is you're going to go back up on your nitrogen, but you want a slow release.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically that's a fertilizer that would have some sulfur built into it. And that's good for. What that does is nitrogen makes the lawn grow and green up. When you add a bit of sulfur to it, you get the green up without the excessive top growth.
So it just slows the growth, but it's nice and green. It becomes healthy.
Still giving nutrients to the grass. Yeah.
Okay. And then herbicides. These are things that I know almost nothing about, so I would need an explanation of what it is in late summer. Is there a better approach at this point to the season? Why are we using them? If we're not, let's talk about herbicides in the late summer.
So herbicides you want to do. So if you have been fixing areas of your lawn, doing a lot of seeding, you don't want to. Typically, our weed control is we coat the whole lawn with an iron-based herbicide. It's really the only one you're allowed to use in Ontario for cosmetic reasons. It's a product called Fiesta, and it just has about 5% iron in it, and that's a contact herbicide. So it selects broadleaf weeds like dandelions, doesn't affect grass, and then it just kills them on contact.
Okay, so that's
it. So what we typically do is we'll coat the whole lawn for weed control, but if you're doing heavy seeding, fixing bare patches, things like that, spraying iron on the seed before it's germinated can hinder that. So what we recommend then is if we're going to do lawn repairs, we do spot treatments for weeds. So instead of coating your whole lawn, if you've been doing your lawn care, your lawn at this point shouldn't be riddled with weeds where you have to continue coating it. You can if you haven't put any seed down, but you want to go around now and just spot treat those individual weeds so you don't affect and disturb the new seed growth.
Okay. Okay, so herbicide really to just get rid of the bad, and your two options are you coat the whole lawn. In many cases, you do that. In other cases, with seed, things like that, you spot treat.
That's right.
Okay, and what was the thing that we used to use for like weed killer? It was just really dense in chemicals, and now that's illegal, and you can't buy it anymore.
Golf courses have an exemption for it.
Right.
They can use it. That's why they have such good greens on the golf courses.
Yeah. But we can't. Homeowners.
No, now the stuff we use, does it work as good as that? No, but you can affect we're in charge of the concentration we use, right? So we can put a little bit of a stronger formula in place if you have really bad weeds, really mature weeds, right? Weeds that have been around for years. They're going to be stronger, more resistant. Every couple of years, so weeds will actually, they're organisms, they develop resistance to our herbicides, just like it's like antibiotics, right? Bacteria and viruses develop resistance to our antibiotics, so we have to constantly reformulate them, switch formulas, switch concentrations, even switch methods. Like a contact herbicide may stop working, so now you got to get something that targets the root system, which would affect when you apply it, right?
Okay, so I'm putting this let's say I try to do this on my own. I'm going to tackle this because I saw this, I learned some things, and I use the contact herbicide. It's got that iron in there to kill the weeds. It's not doing anything. Do I then go to the root variant of that? Is that easily purchased, or?
The root variant is a pre-emergent that we're very restricted to what we can use here. The root variant, not even really a root variant. I would call it's a pre-emergent. What it does is it stops those weeds from germinating at all. And you want to put that stuff down either if you didn't get it down in the spring, you do it in the fall or early in the spring. But you got to watch out because it also stops grass seeds from germinating too.
Perfect.
So what we do is we're aerating in the spring. Our first applications we do on lawns is a pre-emergent. We'll aerate, 40 days later to make sure that's all gone and worked in before we apply the seed.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm digging it. Fall. Let's talk about what we do in the fall. It's cooling down. Sun's going down a little bit. So what's the right way to mow your lawn in the fall? How long should that final mow be? How long until that final mow should be before winter? Like, what's the program for mowing in the fall?
Basically, keep mowing. The grass is still growing. You want to keep mowing until the grass stops growing. So for us, that's always typically, we usually are doing at least 1 or 2 mows in October, almost always. I've mowed into November before.
Okay.
Like south end of Barrie, we cut off mowing later than we do the north end of Barrie. Sure. We also started earlier than the north end of Barrie, like significantly sometimes. So it's all based on where you are, how the sun hits your property, and just keeping an eye on your grass. Is it still growing? Does it still need to be cut? Most people tend to skip that final lawn cut. Because
go ahead.
There's the other issue there is because of the leaves. Leaves start falling, and most people say, well, I'm not going to go mow the lawn now. There's got some leaves on it. So they typically go, that's it. I'll just wait now. Pick up the leaves once they all fall, and then that's it. What happens is the grass is still growing, and now you've kind of hindered those areas where those leaves have fallen by not mowing it, not taking them up.
And so what's the negative outcome? So in my lawn, I mean, the leaves are crazy. It'll cover my entire backyard. Like pretty much my whole back lawn is covered in leaves. If I just say, F it, I'm not going to do it. What's the repercussions of that?
The type of leaves can change. So for example, like maple leaves, especially crimson maples, those red leaves, extremely acidic to the grass.
Okay.
It'll throw the pH level of your grass way up. And then you'll see that in your soil test. And then you'll get, it kind of blankets the lawn too. So that last bit of the season, the lawn is not getting enough water in those areas. It's not getting sunlight in those areas. And it's also that matted downness over the winter too can cause mold in your grass as well if you don't pick them up. So typically, basically what we're saying is it's a lot of work. If you have leaves falling on your lawn every week, you should be clearing them every week. Every week, how do we mow? You throw that into your game plan. Now, I don't just mow. I got to clear the leaves first. Some people have mowers that pick up the leaves with a bagger. That works well too. Sometimes on our larger properties, we just find a place on site to store the leaves for that period of time. You just want them off the lawn. You're still doing lawn stuff, right? So you still want the leaves off the lawn. You want the lawn clear, and then you can wait till your last, end of November to pick them all up from somewhere. But you want to keep the lawn clear, keep clearing leaves so you can keep mowing.
Okay, so I cannot just mow over those leaves, chop them up, leave them on the grass.
Oh, you can. Yeah. Most people's lawnmowers, if the lawn is blanketed with weeds, they typically will struggle to cut through that. If you
With
just
leaves, they will.
Yeah, if you have a homeowner grade lawnmower, if it's a little bit wet out, it'll be very, very hard and cumbersome to cut through those leaves, and it'll leave quite a mess.
Okay, so we can. So if I'm able to cut through the leaves with the lawnmower and just really chop them up like it would be the grass and just leave them on the lawn, not the worst thing in the world?
Nope, not at all.
But I'm going to struggle to do that. So in many cases, you got to get the rake out, bag them, put them somewhere, clear the lawn.
Usually, yeah, that's the way. Or even just a blower. Blower does very, very well.
Okay, I have one of those. Just blow them off.
Good strong blower.
Okay, so we got mowing. We got the leaves. Let's talk about aerating in the fall. Is it effective? What does it actually do for your lawn? We talked about it long term. We know that it's that really hard soil. It's basically like as you're speaking, I'm thinking of it like skin. Your skin gets plugged up. You put cream on your skin. It just sits on the surface.
Yep.
Doesn't help. So I'm looking at aeration as, pulling up blackheads and things like that, creating space for seed, for water, for all that to go. For me, and I imagine many people, I'm thinking a lot of this happens in the summer where all that heat is. But from learning from you, it's like, no, man, it's all 4 seasons. We're pretty much doing all of these tasks just to a different degree. So there is a potential you could aerate in the fall as well if needed.
Absolutely, yeah. I do it because it just means the lawn's just that much more ready for spring, right? I know the soil's not going to be compacted. I know the water from the snow melt got down into the roots, and I know my first round of fertilizers are going to get down in there as well.
Okay, so you're the lawn expert. I imagine you treat your lawn really well. Do you aerate like every year unless there's some unforeseen circumstances?
I do it every spring and every fall.
Yeah. And then you fertilize and you seed at the same time or within that period?
I do. I will always seed after I aerate, always.
Okay. So there we go. There we have it. So we just talked about seeding. So we can do that. We aerate first, then we seed.
That's right.
Okay. And we can do that to prep before the winter. And that gives the grass a really good chance to grow strong in the spring.
That's right. But remember, everything is about timing, right? So you don't want to, if your biggest problem that summer was your weeds got out of control and they spread too much, maybe you want to aerate and throw down a pre-emergent instead.
Even in the fall.
Because now you can go get that pre-emergent down, and then in the springtime, you can, right when your lawn wakes up, those new seeds that you accidentally spread all over your lawn because maybe you didn't bag it when it was covered in weeds, put the pre-emergent down in the fall with the aeration, get it into the soil, wait till the spring to seed.
And just for people listening, I have an idea of it, but if you could define pre-emergent, what does it mean exactly?
Pre-emergent, so it kills the weeds before they emerge. So when the weed seeds drop, they're in the soil, pre-emergent will stop them from germinating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just fortifies you against them even starting type of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, we talked about leaves. So last thing so this is what I like because again, I just didn't even think about it until I read your things. So to wrap up the fall here, we've talked about watering. We do it as needed. You got the tuna can if you need it, but if you're consistent, you're going for depth, not frequency. Right. We're talking about basically 2.5 inches all the way up to 3.5 inches to cut that grass. Let it go a little longer in the summer because of that heat. We talked about aerating if it gets compact, especially in the spring and in the fall are good ideas to do it. And then you seed after that. Now our lawn season is done, but we have all the stuff that we worked with before we wrap up. So before winter hits, what should people do with their lawn equipment to make sure it's ready for the spring? I'm probably one of the worst at this. When I found out how many times you should sharpen your blades, I'm like, I don't think I've sharpened my blades in a decade. But how do we get set up so that our equipment is lasting long? and giving us that value for the dollar, but also doing the right job for the lawn.
Right. So typically what I do, and for most of our clients, is their last grass mow, we will cut it a little bit shorter than normal.
Okay.
I would never cut any grass lower than 2.5 inches, but we will cut it a little bit lower than normal. That way, one of the main reasons is because in the spring, the grass may start growing, but you may not have optimal conditions outside to mow the grass. We get a lot of rain in the spring. By the time you're actually your lawn may be sloped, right? You may have some dirt back there. You may not be able to get out and cut the grass, but the grass is growing because our temperatures are higher. So you may not get out there to do your first mow. You're like, oh no, the grass is now 6 inches long.
Right.
And my mowers just can't do it, right? Or I can't do it. Now you got a mess. So basically what I like to think of is I'm giving the grass that time to kind of grow a little bit excessively in the spring if it has to before we can get to the first cut. That way it's not out of control, right?
So I like that. And then, okay, so we cut it a little bit shorter just in case we can't physically get out there because it's pouring, whatever the case may be. And then what do we do with the equipment before we wrap up for the end of the year?
So for me, I store my stuff inside in heat. So I will get it ready for the first day I have it out in the spring. It's cleaned up, all the muck's off it, all the grass clippings are off of it. I change the oil, empty the fuel. I put the new blades on in the fall.
But like for the last cut, or once you're done everything, then the new blades.
Done everything and put the new blades on. That way, those are ready to go for the spring. If I'm storing the machine inside, if you're storing it outside, you want to empty out the oil. Don't put the new blades on; they're just going to rust. Make sure the deck is clean. The deck, grass clippings left under the deck, they will get moldy.
What do you mean by the deck? The deck of the lawnmower, or like
the lawnmower? The grass clippings will stick to the inside there. They will become matted in there, and they will go moldy on you. And then you're just going to spread that stuff to your lawn in the spring.
Okay, so I'm leaving it outside. Take the blades off. Never done that. I don't leave them outside, but I imagine many people do. Even if it's in a shed, it's still technically outside. It's getting the air. It's cold. So you take the blades off, empty out the fluid, wipe all the grass off of it. You should be good.
Yeah.
Inside, you put the new blades on early if you want. And when you say new blades, you mean like actually another set of blades, or just
a sharpened set of blades? If your blades are able to be sharpened, and blade sharpening, you mentioned that most people don't know how often they're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
we go by hours, right? So typically every 10 to 8 hours of cutting, the blades get sharpened for us. For us, that's just once a week. Once a week, all the blades get sharpened for us. For the homeowner, you may be looking at once a season.
Yeah, I mean, my lawn takes me about 90 minutes to cut. So when I was thinking about that,
season, maybe you keep 2 sets of blades, right? Throw a new one on mid-season, and then just get them both sharpened in the spring or fall. They also have different kinds of blades for different kinds of we didn't even touch on this. We use different blades for different seasons. We have our spring cleanup blades, which are like a razor tip blade. They mulch up grass twice as much, and they discharge grass further because they got little wing tips on them that kind of send the grass out a little harder. So it's for cutting big, long grass. There's like sticks in the lawn sometimes. There's things that you aren't going to get in there. So they're like almost like a wrecking blade, right? But the most important thing is that they're all sharp. Then you have a high lift blade for grass. Yeah. Then you have a high lift blade for longer grass. It just gives more circulation in the deck, shoots the grass a little further.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you have just your regular flat blade. That's just a straight grass cut. But you want to make sure they're sharp is the most important thing. Otherwise, you're just tearing the grass and you're not cutting it. Think about how people have, split ends in your hair. Yeah. It's the same thing, right? You cut your hair regularly with sharp scissors so you don't get those split ends, those dead ends on the hair. You can see your grass blades. They'll have little brown tips on them if your blades aren't sharp.
It's amazing. Like for me, business owner, health, wealth, and relationships are my life. That takes up all my waking hours. So I buy my food from a prep shop. So they come in large boxes, throw them in the oven, microwave, done. I have a nutritionist, even though I've been in the gym and trainer for a long time, to just take it off my mind. I have someone come and cut the grass, someone clean the house. It's like, there's a team of people around this environment, but all that reduces stress. It's done better. And in many cases, when I've done the math myself, it actually costs me more money to do the thing because I'm spending 4 times the amount of time. For the people out there that are hearing this and think, it's just mowing my lawn, it's just grass cutting, it's so simple. Like, it's not. And there's so much to it.
There's a lot of angles to it.
For sure.
I often say, like, some people say to me, like, my neighbor has the nicest lawn I've ever seen. And they'll always say, he's out there every day. I go, exactly. That's what it takes, right? Yeah. So maybe not every day, but this obviously it's a bit of a passion project, right? So
yeah, you could see the guys that do that. They're washing their car every day. Everything, even the simplest things in life that they seem to us, there's mastery to all of them. And if you get towards mastery in anything, there's just layers and layers and layers and layers. I learned so much on this conversation. But let's talk about, for the people that are interested, because I'm one of these people. I hear all that. I have a fairly big property. Like, it's 90 minutes to cut it every week, then the weeds, then the gardens. Like, each month it may be, 8 hours, 9 hours that I'd love to get back for myself. What does a program like this cost? People are like, I learned all that. You're awesome. I'm not going to do any of it. I'd rather just give my money rather than time, effort, and stress, which is me 9 out of 10 times.
So it really depends on the size of your lawn,
okay,
and what we need to do to it. But just for an example cost, like I can give you like our kind of average program. If we're doing your full like spring and fall cleanup for your property, taking care of the leaves, doing the weekly mowing, doing a basic fertilization and weed control program, most properties in Barrie, like your postage stamp lot, you're looking at about $1,500 to $2,000 a season to cover that service for you.
And that's basically April to October.
April to October. So mid-April, we start doing spring cleanups. Like we just started this past Monday was our first week out full-time doing them. And then mowing usually starts first, second week of May, depending on if you're in the south end or north end of Barrie. Sure. And usually runs till the first week of October, give or take.
So April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So you're talking 7 months. Yeah. Yep. So you're talking $200 a month, roughly.
Pretty much.
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
And, for me, and you're talking about these postage stamps. So mine's a little bit bigger than that, but not much. But it's the gardens, the trees. So if it's to do it how you just described, I'm thinking that's probably more like 15 hours a month for me. But just to do it the way I do it, play around in the gardens a little bit, I'm talking 10 hours that it's taking me. So if I could pay you $200 and save myself 10 hours, all the homeowner has to do is ask, is their hour worth more than $20? And for me, that's a big yes. $20 was in my 20s.
We have some customers with large properties, and they told me that them and their spouse were spending 4 hours a week just cutting the grass.
Right. So it's crazy.
Like trimming it midweek, then mowing it together. And it's just, and they said, and they're business owners. And they said the time we've gotten back, like this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're talking 20 hours a month. Just ask it. See, humans don't do this all that often until somebody points them in the direction. Luckily, I wish it was earlier in life, but it happened when it happened. And now I consider the value of my time, and it's not $20. So that makes things, plus you also want some time to relax. It's like you work all day to come home and take care of your lawn and your house and all this stuff. This has been fantastic, Luan. I mean, you opened my eyes up big time to what I thought was just a simple thing. I should have known that as you go towards expertise in some things, there's just layers and layers and layers to it. You guys provide a lot of value, and your expertise, I think, is going to help a lot of people. Any final comments towards people on their lawn care, what you guys do in Barrie that you want to wrap up with?
I would say everything's about just being proactive and consistent and having a plan, right? Think about everything you're doing this month for the next month.
Right.
It's kind of how I look at it. Things you do in the fall are going to help you in the spring. Things you do in the spring are going to help you midsummer.
Beautiful. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Luan?
You can check out our Facebook page. Yeah, we have Instagram, Simcoe Lawns Ltd, our website, simcoelawns.ca, or you can get in touch with me, Luan at simcoelawns.ca.
Beautiful, man. It's been a pleasure. This is episode 1 of our Expert Series podcast, and you just nailed that expertise out of the park, man. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to chatting with you many more times throughout the summer, pal.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Take care, man.
You as well.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com, or call 705-413-3775.